Before we get rolling with today's episode, I want to take a second to tell you about SHRP Training. Snyder Health Recovery and Performance Training is an online training platform to help washed up athletes look, feel, and move better. We offer several different group options catered to your needs, interests, and goals, with new programs delivered each month through the TeamBuilder app. Features include video demonstrations, 24/7 messaging and feedback, and access to the SHRP Edge, a comprehensive guide to upgrade your diet, sleep, and life. Use the code PODCAST in all caps to get 50% off your first month when checking out a program. Iron sharpens iron, so let us help you become your sharpest self. Now let's go. And we are back with another edition of SHRP Talk, joined by the brothers. Guys, how you doing?
I'm probably not doing as good as Brandon coming back from Jamaica.
Boys, dark.
Yeah, I'm on. Got the tan.
Boys.
Yeah.
Dark.
The Jamaican Caribbean glow. Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's for our listeners, it won't have been a while, but we haven't done these in a minute. There's been a lot going on. We got Brandon married. We got a new member in the family.
Yep.
And then Brandon went and kicked it down in Jamaica, I believe that's
Yeah,
the
man.
locals say,
Yeah,
for
man.
a week.
Yep.
Anything you want to hit on with those?
No, Jamaica was great. The wedding was fantastic. So fun to just see so many of the people we love the most, and for everybody to get to know each other better, or maybe for the first time even.
Yeah.
I think it was a beautiful experience. I think everybody had fun, so
It was fun.
I've had a lot of fun.
Unique setup. I mean, that's the first wedding I've stood up in, but also first wedding where it's been spread out over like 3 or 4 days. So just cool to hang out and get to know some people in your life that I hadn't previously known well. All great
I think
dudes,
it helps like the storytelling, I would say, like, is your story worth telling and stuff, and I've told stories about some of the people that I love and our connections and what's made me close with those people. And at first they're just names, and now I think they're more than that, a lot more than that. And I think it comes full circle. I think it's great for everybody to get to know each other better. And that was kind of the whole idea from the beginning, is like most weddings I've gone to has been, just on Saturday, and it goes so fast and it's just a blur. And I can't even imagine trying to fit everything we did from Thursday to Sunday into 1 day or 2 days or whatever that is. And man, it was so rewarding just to like have that idea. And for Paige, Paige found the place and figured all that out. Although I did go to the facility without her and went with Sherry and Lisa, and we made the decision without Paige. So I guess I'll take some of the credit. So she did find it, but it was risky business. Saying yes to a facility like that without the wifey is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely unique, and I really loved how much you guys focused on your support system. And yeah, it was a weekend of celebrating you, but having everybody there for a couple of days was awesome, just to converse and just talk about you two and the connection, and also make connections with the other people. Like you said, it's hard in 1 day, but having that ability, I think, was really unique and really cool.
Yeah, it was a blast.
It's a great time. Great
Live
time.
band was sick.
Live band was crazy. Dame was killing it.
Damn.
Yeah.
The groomsmen were killing it. Shout out Iso Rocks.
Yeah.
Check him out. Shout out James. I don't know what his rapper name is, but
Shout out Greg Hooving.
shout out Greg Hugavian with the
Shout out your new mom.
Rock me, mama.
Yeah.
Shout out Lisa. Rolling.
Just a party. Just the best
Yeah, it was
dance I've ever
awesome.
been
Rolling
to.
on the river.
So good times. And this is the first one we've had like current events, because everything was kind of pre-recorded. So we got Father's Day coming up Sunday. So shout out Tim.
Shout out Tim.
Big part of our lives, and
Man,
we wouldn't be who we are without him. So shout out that guy.
I was just telling him, he texted me or whatever, and it's like, man, I'm about to hop on a podcast with the brothers, and how lucky we are to do that and to do this, and just to spend time with each other, and also be raised the way we were, and have the family on both sides for me now, but especially just, growing up, the family we did and the parenting we had, and specifically for me, how they've supported me through the good and the bad. So just shout out Timmy.
Yeah, words don't do it justice. Take a lot for granted.
No, it's an eternal thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, today, I suppose, on the pod, kind of the end of a trilogy, I suppose. We, originally kind of set out to do this all in one episode and kind of branched off into some other things, which is cool. It's cool to just let the conversation flow into some other things. But a couple of weeks ago, talked about our high school training experience, and then diving into college, kind of comparing, NAIA, D1, a couple different schools, different training environments, and kind of being able to reflect back on some things we liked and didn't like and learn from. And since then, training has changed. I kind of talked about how high school is kind of unstructured and figure it out yourself, experiment, and then college, everything is set. You're kind of told what to do, and then post-college, it's time to, figure out for yourself how you want to train, or to not train as much or at all. It's kind of just freedom, which can be great or also scary. So can kind of just reflect back on that, and I think that'll be cool for me and Jaden, especially. That's kind of the population we work with, is former college athletes. So we can kind of share what we've done personally since then, and hopefully it's some stuff that people listening can relate to.
Yeah.
So
the free world.
Yeah, man. Crazy. So
yeah, I'm on.
Do you want me to kick it off since?
Yeah, I do.
Go for it.
Definitely.
Yeah. So, kind of slightly different than you in that by the time my playing career was done, I had a body transformation to go through. I weighed 238 as a D lineman at Northwestern, and I had known getting up to that weight that I was absolutely going to lose it as fast as possible when I was done. And so, I guess I like to experiment on myself and try new things. It was a unique situation in that I had always been looking to gain weight most of my life and had never been in a position to lose weight. And so, I was at 238 and didn't have to force feed myself anymore. And so, but I also didn't want to lose it super fast. So kind of just started with cutting out smaller things and cutting out more as I went along and just adjusting week to week. And so, I ended up getting down to 210 within 4 or 5 months. And so I guess from the diet perspective, that's how it changed. And then training wise, had been looking forward to, obviously the team setting is awesome, like getting to connect with your boys. Like that's what we grew up doing in high school, and it's the same in college. Like it was a great environment to train in, and it's easy to get motivated in that environment when you got guys to push with, and when programming's done for you. But I feel like everyone, there's things that they like in training that they maybe want more of, and you don't have to train to be an athlete anymore. And so for me, I had always enjoyed Olympic lifting. In high school, it was more so just figuring out how to do it. And then college, we would do it sporadically, but not consistently. And so I had never cleaned or from the floor or snatched from the floor. And so that's kind of what a lot of it was early on, was just exploring some different Olympic lifts. And it was fun to get the technique down for that right away. But I'd say as you lose weight, there's going to be some strength loss that comes with that. And so it kind of stayed consistent as the form got better. The strength was still going down. So yeah, it was fun to experiment with that for a while, and kind of just some strongman training with that. I mean, still just trying to keep bench and squat at a decent level,
Yeah.
but just not. I mean, you're able to regulate on how you're feeling, and
It's a weird thing though to like swallow your pride on weights and know that you're getting more out of it, I think.
yeah, yeah. And I found early on, like, it's hard to. It's one thing to like have it programmed for you, and also having guys to motivate you and like wanting to do well in front of them. But when it's literally just you in there, it's harder to hit those same numbers.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that
Quick
was
question.
unique to deal with. Yeah.
What did you like? And it's maybe not one thing, obviously set by set, there's so many reps and sets and stuff, but like as you progress, like what was your motivation between sets to go at something like from the floor? I mean, it takes some sort of a motivation. Like what was your motivation at that point?
As far as for staying active or like actually lifting the
No,
weight
like
for the
actually
set.
like, throwing something above your head from the floor, like
I think, I mean, I started to rely on music more. You know, not having it from other people, I
super
started
dope.
getting into music and started getting into
Super
like
dope.
hip hop
Super
and
sick.
rap, which you put me onto. High school was always like rock, and then kind of the same in college, but you kind of put me onto like hip hop and rap, and so I started listening to new albums every day and compiling a
So,
list of my
okay,
favorite artists. And
tangent. All right. Yep.
yeah,
So you started on we started on this, and you always stay through things better than I do, but you created a list of artists, correct?
yeah.
That's at how many artists now? Do
So
you
it started
know?
as
I
just
mean,
hip
is
hop
it
and rap, but I've branched off into including like country and Christian and like
yeah.
2000s artists. So it's like over 200 artists right now.
So it's over 200, and do you still follow through with that? Do you still go like artist by artist, album by album? Is that something you're still doing, or I
Yeah,
know for a while you were doing that?
I have it listed alphabetically, and I'll listen to an album and then write down what the next one is. And for an artist, once I have all their albums down, I'll go through their individual songs, from most downloaded to least downloaded, and listen to those. And then I have an app that notifies me when new music comes out. So every Friday, it's like 20 to 25 new songs because that's when everyone releases it. So I'll listen to their new songs. But yeah, just build that over time. Started with just a few artists that I liked or like that you recommended because you were more into hip
That's
hop than me, and yeah, I feel like I like artists with range and just that switch it up because there's some that kind of get repetitive listening to the same, and so it's just fun. I feel like I've developed a good taste for music over time. That's why I appreciate about Isaac. Like he's so gifted with his range. Like he went from singing like this beautiful slow song during your ceremony,
Tennessee whiskey.
and then freestyling rap.
That's
So
smooth.
like that's
Literally.
that's what I appreciate, I think, more than anything else in music. And so I mean, yeah, just I think with stuff like that, if you don't like training necessarily or just want something to get into, I think, I mean, for me, it's also podcasts now. It's just finding something to not distract you, but to dive into to make training more fun. Like I look forward to getting to listen to a new album every day, and I associate that with training or my favorite podcasts. Or, I mean, if you find a new group of people to train with, you get to see them every day. So if you don't love training itself, I think it's just important to find something else to keep you engaged, to keep you coming back. And so yeah, kind of where that was, like I kind of relied on like heavy or not heavy, loud music right away to get me
Yep.
going because I lost that motivation from teammates. And it's cool. I've gotten to a point where I don't have to rely on anything anymore. It's just like kind of internal motivation, just trying to be my best self. And so, yeah, if it's going to be a super heavy set, like I'm going to find a loud song, but
Yeah.
I found it's cool to get like a good Christian song on for those. Like it's almost like the message more instead of like the actual volume, or
Yeah. Any
even being able to
artists
do
like
it like,
there,
what's that?
any artist there, like, I don't know, like Christian artists that really like, maybe a couple that maybe you go to if you've got to do something like that.
I mean, if it's like rap, maybe Lecrae, but
Lecrae. Yeah.
otherwise, just something that's speaking to like what I'm thinking about or like going through at the moment. So just hit shuffle until I find something that like
Till you find
speaks
it.
to me, or
Yeah.
yeah.
It's cool.
So
Super
yeah,
cool.
just
I
but
think
yeah, it's
that's
more
a super
internal.
powerful takeaway is like, every stage of training and like trying to do better by your body, right? Because you have one body, and it's important to treat it well and to train well, and to run the race. Like it requires sometimes external motivation. I think that's a really powerful takeaway that I just got, is like how powerful music can be. I know it's been huge for you, and then like, how it like comes full circle is like, if I ever need like music recommendations, or even for the wedding and stuff, it's like just the depths of music that you've looked into has rewarded me like tenfold. Like, I can't tell you how many drives or how many different situations I've put one of your playlists on, and I don't think you'll ever know the impact of that, but like it really has. It's important, and it's necessary in certain stages of life for sure. So I think it goes hand in hand with training. I know it's not really where we intended this conversation to go, but it's
Yeah.
important to find motivation to do something. And a lot of times music is a really powerful and profound way to do that. So
Yeah.
You can find like the new albums to when you train. Like, is that something you keep to training only so that you look forward to it, or is there
Yeah, that's the only time I ever do that.
so you kind of take it along to? Yeah, I can see
Yeah,
how you
that's
would like look forward to something. Like, say you think you're like watching YouTube too much, you could maybe only watch a YouTube video while you're on the treadmill, or only
dude.
listen to a
yeah,
podcast while you're in the weight room, and then
yeah,
maybe externally you get motivated by being able to do something like that and confining that in the weight room or on a treadmill. And I think I've experimented with something like that, and I think it's something that definitely
yeah,
does work, and having you look forward to that next session. Because if you're just going in, no music, no anything, and it's just lifting weights, it can get monotonous for sure. So
yeah,
having something to spice it up a little bit, I think, is beneficial for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, and it's gonna be different for everyone, so you just gotta find
Yeah.
what that is for you.
I think the podcast touch is great too. Like I've definitely like, well, I know it's fantasy football, but that's how I spend most of my drives to Ames. Is like, I look forward to the next footballers podcast, because whether it's dynasty or just their regular redraft, it's just like, it helps me get through something that I have to do. It's something I look forward to doing. It's really powerful.
Yeah.
It's like staying locked in a 50-minute drive. Like, I've been in accidents, but I think those podcasts really help me lock in and give me something to look forward to. And I look forward to a cup of coffee and the footballers podcast. Like that's how I get to Ames most days. It's powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Monday, Thursdays, I look forward to washed up walk-ons, and then like
Washed up
with
walk
the
on, shout out.
shout out, and then with the music, like I said, like new music's on Fridays, so like I look forward to Fridays specifically because there's new albums that are coming out. So yeah,
Yeah.
just kind of gamifying it in that way, and just finding something to look forward to. But
Yeah.
enough about
But
music, I suppose. But
yeah, wow.
that's
It's powerful.
cool.
But anyways, back to what you were saying.
Yeah, I guess with the actual training aspect, like yeah, I got into Olympic lifts for a while, and I guess as a strength coach, I guess I learned from Elon the importance of just trying out your own programs and not necessarily going through it like as it's written specifically, but at least trying out the exercises, the rep schemes. And so that's something I've prided myself on, is the athletes that I work with, it's never going to be something that I don't do myself. Like Jaden was talking about doing 3 sets of 5 at 92%. Like, I feel like that's a coach who hasn't done himself who's programming that. Like that's insane to do that consistently. And so I've seen programs where it's like, okay, I know no one's actually done this. Like, so I think it's just, for me, that's kind of what it was training like an athlete to, I mean, not only just kind of stay athletic, but to also be a better coach and find out what works, what doesn't work, what's a good exercise, what set and rep schemes are most effective. And I feel like that's made me a better coach, a better programmer through time. And just through that, I still enjoy training like an athlete. I mean, how I train looks different. I love exercise more than the average person because I'm a sicko. So I train every day. I alternate upper and lower body. I have an 8-day training split, which probably doesn't make sense for anyone, but it's just something I've modified through time. And building out the exercise library for the SHRP programs, I try to hit each joint in a different way, each category, which kind of just helps with the filming for that. That's great. And so it's a lot of
8 days. Like what?
What's that?
8 days is crazy.
Yeah, it's just it's really evolved over time, but I've like the last year or so, it's kind of been consistent with the split I do, and that's just come through time, just how I like to program. And it's a lot of stuff I probably wouldn't program for other people, but it's just what works for me. And I think for other people to take away, if nothing else, just find a split, a setup that works for you. And yeah, hopefully that involves like training full body and including things like cardio just for heart health, some mobility, just some general stuff. But it doesn't have to look the same for everyone. And if you don't want to program, then you know who to go to. Yep. But yeah, that's all it is nowadays, is just still experimenting, still trying different things. Not necessarily as much for my athletes anymore, but just for me, just how I can be my best self, my most athletic and strong and healthy self. So
yeah.
Kind of question along with, or
no, go ahead.
Question alongside like your motivation. What would you say? Is there anything like tangible necessarily that you're training for? Would you say, I know I've heard you say you're training to be slightly unathletic, and I know I've seen pictures of you eating canes and saying this is why I train. Like, is there anything like tangible necessarily, like why you train, why you are able to do it every single day? Because I know there's a lot of people that struggle with consistency. So like, what is it on days when maybe you don't feel like it? Is it the habit, like you don't even think about it anymore? Is it the consistency that you've built over time? Like, what would you say is something like, I don't know if it's tangible or just like the reason behind why you train the way you do?
Good question.
See, that's where it's back to where I'm a little sick in the head, where don't think I've ever had a day where I've not looked forward to a workout. I genuinely enjoy getting to work out every day, which is part of the way I'm wired, which is kind of like why I'm in the career I'm in, is trying to, I feel like I've been blessed with that desire, that love for exercise. So it's like, okay, it's there for a reason. How do I find a way to share that with others? So that's kind of why I'm like in the career field I am. But I mean, also just a lot of other little things, like looking good, feeling good, being able to, I love to eat. So like being able to eat more, and like even unhealthy at times, because I've earned that through how many calories I'm burning a day. Being able to compete with yourself, getting to experiment. It's just a lot of little things. And like health wise, I mean, I'm sure you've heard the saying, like there's no magic pill for staying healthy, but the closest thing is exercise. it has so many mental and physical benefits, regardless of background, regardless of age. It's just the ultimate magic pill. I think people look to magic solutions all the time, but you just got to get in and do the work, whatever way that looks like for you.
I think it shows how rewarding like exercise is. Like I can't really think of a time where I went and exercised, quote unquote exercise or whatever, lifted or whatever, and didn't feel better afterwards about
Right.
the work that I just did. And I think it can be hard sometimes to like Jaden just said, to find the motivation for that. But it's like if you do it consistently, and I think exercise like rewards your brain, you know, it becomes a part of your nervous system and your reward system of like this just genuinely makes me feel better. Like it's actually rewarding to do this. And it's also important to develop a lifestyle. I mean, it's so hard, like in the, you know, if you're working 8 to 5, it's like, when am I supposed to work? When am I supposed to work out? And then it becomes really difficult, you know, not, do I got to go really early in the morning and then it's a really long day. And especially if you have kids, like obviously none of us have kids yet. And so that's like a different beast. And that'll change things too. But it's like, I don't know how great the structure of work life is if you can't find time to work out, like at a good time of the day, you know? And I think like you found that, and I think we found that, you know, sometimes you do have to squeeze it in or work it around your schedule, whether it's school or work or whatever that is. But it's like, man, I think we'd all be better if we had, you know, a decent time of the morning to work out and then go work. You know, if I could work out from 8 to 10 and then go work after that, it's like, how serious is it for us to work all day? You know, like, is it really a job worth doing if you're unhealthy, you know? And just because of the benefits you're talking about.
Colton's doing the program, like that I just launched, and like in our consult, like he talked about doing night shifts and how that schedule changes, and that's something I can't personally relate to because I've never had a schedule like that, and so I sympathize with that. Like that's super hard, especially a changing schedule. But it's like you said, we spend so much of our time scrolling through our phone or watching Netflix or TV or just other like mindless things. Like if you can't find like 4 hours a week minimum to set aside to just devote to your health, I think you got to look in the mirror and just reevaluate what's important to you. But I think you guys got any other questions? I think that's all I got. I can shut up.
No, that was great.
No, that was
good.
Really
good.
Cool. Which one of you guys want to go?
I can go.
A
little different for me. When I was at Northwestern, I was training to make it professionally, you know, just knowing what I knew. Just trying to get my body right for a pro day and all of that stuff. And like I said, it was kind of a continuation of the process I've done before. And then after that, like after, you know, I didn't really make a workout or a professional team, it was like empty for me. I like worked in Sioux City for 3 years and kind of helped the arena get off the ground, and literally like ran, like my job was a lot of like the training aspect of things. You know, it was kind of like a complementary piece to playing for the arena. Sioux City was to now Siouxland Sports Academy, to like be there for athletes. And I worked a lot of athletes out. Again, kind of like Colin said, like nothing I asked them to do is something I haven't done before. But as like a less qualified person to do that, like I just had my undergraduate, and so I didn't really have as many good answers as, you know, these two guys as far as like from an education perspective. I knew how they were moving. I knew how they needed to move better. Felt like I could train that, but was completely unwilling to do that myself at that point in my career. Like, pretty much all of the energy I spent was on other people and didn't really have energy for myself. Take that to Omaha, like, again, spending a lot of time on the courts. Like, most of my, and here's like also what I'll say is, like, I was on the court for like many hours a day. I was on the court most days from 4 to 10. Like, that was a workout for me. If you're doing a good job coaching, like, I have a hard time with, all these coaches that say, like, you don't have to be able to show somebody, like, I can just tell somebody or do the drills or whatever and like assign a drill and like expect them to do it. No, like, I demonstrated a lot. I always wanted to be able to show them how to do something and do it well and like do it athletically. And I think sometimes in like the youth sports environment that probably almost looked weird, like, like, I'm going to show them a flash of like what I think greatness is. I'm going to show them like, this is how you're really supposed to do it. And that took a lot out of me. A lot of time it was like cold too. It wasn't like I warmed up or anything. It was just, you're working, 6 hours a day on the court with athletes. It was like, I just had to be able to do it. And so it was more of like a constant thing for me. It wasn't a thing where I would go work out from 8 to 10 or find my own workout time. It was like, I knew I had 6 hours on the court and I was going to get a lot out of that. And so I, one, didn't feel like I needed to do a lot of extra training, and two, just didn't want to. I just didn't have like the mental drive to. I think I would have been better for it, but it was more so like one of those things where I felt like I needed to rest for all of the court time I had. When I got to OSA, we had 70 teams, and we were offering training and all of these other things, and it was exhausting, like, in and of itself. And so, already being somewhat depleted, as I've talked about before, I didn't feel like I had extra energy to go work out on my own and it kind of explore kind of all the things that I've done before. I felt like I had done enough of that. And so honestly, like, I stayed in great shape, to be honest. Like, other than maybe some cardio, I would have liked to do more. But again, I found times to like get up and down and sporadically, and found how out of shape I was in those times. And how hard basketball conditioning is. But again, that was like those little, I don't know, samples of cardio were good for me. It was good to stay healthy. I felt like I was always healthy. I played most of my career at Iowa at like 217. I think that was the goal weight I had. At SDSU, obviously being less healthy, it was more around like 205. I'm probably 220 now, which is crazy, kind of to Colin's earlier point. Like, I tried my whole life to put on weight, and now I carry 220 easy. And I think that's a metabolism deal. As you kind of get older, things stay, and I'm obviously less active than I was before. But like, I think I went probably multiple years without actually working out. I joined a gym in Omaha and canceled it after 6 months. I was like, this just really isn't probably sustainable for me, like, doing this schedule. For me, like, I worked usually like afternoons and nights. So I'd work from like 12 to 10, and then I would get home and my schedules was different. So I don't know, watch a show or watch a movie and go to bed at 12:30 or 1. And, that leads to sleeping till 9 or 10 to get 8 hours or so, or 9. And like I said, when I was at Omaha, I was coaching 3 teams. So I worked 70 days straight. So there just wasn't like a lot of time to work out or energy to work out. Moving to like Des Moines, like, kind of the same thing was going on. And then, wedding goals kind of changed that. Wanted to just like I just thought forward on what I wanted to look like and what I wanted to feel like on like my wedding day, like only happens once, and wanted to feel like my best self. And so Colin was really helpful in like sharp training. Paige and I like kind of set out goals for ourselves. We took before pictures and committed to like let's get stronger. Like for Paige and I. For me, it was more like let's lose weight. Make my abs look better, like make my muscle tone look better. Maybe lose a few pounds. For Paige, it was like she never really trained, so it was more like get stronger. She'd never done like any weight room stuff, and so it was just mostly it was like a fun experience and a rewarding experience for us to go through that together, right? To find times in our schedule, like we always went together, and like some of the exercises were maybe too much for her just because she didn't know a lot of things. For me, I was like, I don't really want to do that type of a thing. So, substitute that for just curls or shoulder raises or just something to make us stronger, feel better, work out together. We're already squeezing it in type of a thing. But like without, Colin setting us that program and getting us started on the tracks, like I don't think we would have felt as good as we did on our wedding day. And like what a reward that was. And the cool thing is it turned into like her working out on her own, like she would go after work and like go down to the fitness center. And there were, probably 10 plus, maybe 15 times where she just like told me she went and worked out after work. And I was like, that's so cool. Like for somebody that hasn't ever had like a weight room structure or really done any of that, to go do that on her own. And for me, kind of the same thing, like just went a couple times on my own. And again, that's something I hadn't done for years, something that I love to do. Something that literally was like how I remember certain years of my life, is like how my structure of my day was built around the weight room. But like we started a program almost for ourselves and like what we needed, what I wanted to do that day. Like, okay, I've done, I did lower body the other day, so I'm going to do upper body stuff because my legs are sore. And like, it was just so cool to be sore, to go through it together, to program kind of on our own and take the ideas that have come from Sharp. And like, I think that's something that'll continue in our relationship forever, is like, I think we never saw like really any couples like working out together. And I thought that was so cool for us just to like go into any time together and work out for an hour or whatever it was and do the same thing. And, it's been fun. So no, it's been rejuvenating for me. It's kind of, obviously a brief pause here for a couple of weeks, but something that I think we'll continue to do for the rest of our lives, just because of how bonding it was.
And I think with me and Jaden's programs, like we've talked about this on a previous episode, like we don't want people to like rely on a program for us forever. Like we hope that, like you said, there's some stuff you're like didn't like or this ain't for me, but hopefully there's a few things like, oh, this is different, or hey, I kind of like this the way this exercise makes me feel, or at least just something to kind of help you figure out what you like for yourself and how you like to train. And so that's something for me.
Because you don't fully know like the people you're training for and what they like and don't like entirely. You don't know that entirely.
Yeah.
And so there was like some of the like rotational pull stuff. We did that a lot, and that's a super great thing. Like kneeling, rotational pull, like we hammered that. Like silent, like Paige didn't like to lunge. It like hurt her. She didn't really love it. And so we did like side lunges or even like sways. We did like the curtsy lunges, which again is like another great exercise and something that we'll carry through. And it's like you just find those little pieces of things that came from that program. But again, like just out of respect for you and like your accountability and you doing all the work that you did for the program, it's like we dedicated to that, and then we kind of found our own groove within that, and we wouldn't have found that groove without you. And so it meant a lot to us, and we felt so good on our wedding day just about our bodies. Like I've seen her, just like she looks stronger, she is stronger. I felt better. I'd love to get into some cardio stuff, but I'm still working on that. So I haven't really I paid my dues in the cardio realm, and so I'm still trying to figure out things that honestly the best thing for me is just like playing basketball. Something with a game. Like I have a really hard time with like the bikes and running, and probably some of it is because I'm heavy, and you know maybe Jaden can speak to some of that and get me on a running program. But yeah, the best thing for me is to play. But there's also like injury risk from playing, so there's like that to manage too. And I don't want to be one of those like Achilles type stories from playing with high school kids or whatever. And so it's just something that like, you know, I'm really intrigued in the cardio realm of finding something that I love to do and that can help me lose weight, and a mechanism that doesn't bring up old scars that I have. So
Yeah, I was curious in that intermediate phase, like when you did have that 6-month membership, like how much did like your injuries from your career influence, like were the exercises you chose to program like painful for you? Did that integrate like,
yeah,
I don't want to go do this workout because it'll hurt my knees, it'll hurt a lot of like creaks and aches from your college playing days? Because I know like specific exercises when I was in high school, even with like just a little case of knee tendonitis, I would not want to do lunges because it would load that knee and it would cause a lot of pain. So that would neglect me from wanting to go into the weight room and do that exercise. So I'm just curious how much that played a role into like your ability to stay consistent. And I'm also curious how you program for yourself during that time in that intermediate phase,
yeah.
like what you did differently.
Thankfully, pain is not an inhibitor for me. I don't know how, like given the long list of injuries I've had, as dad listed or partially listed at the wedding. Pain's not an inhibitor for me. An inhibitor for me is trauma from college in the cardio sense. So like I have no problem doing any type of a strength exercise. Like I don't feel pain really, like, which is such a blessing. My knees don't get sore. Literally nothing really gets sore. Like if I do something, it's usually muscle. Actually, what I find is like I have just a lot of imbalances. Like my left leg still doesn't really attain retain muscle as well as my right leg does, because it's had four knee surgeries. So like I can't get my leg to fully work how it originally worked, you know, and especially like relative to my right leg. Like my right leg retains muscle a lot better. So what I find myself a lot doing is trying to balance everything. And so like I'll even skew my reps to like maybe even doing more so on the left side to try to get muscle gains or growth. I think that's where like the GOTA thing came in for me, which is a different topic. Is like I was searching for like balance and proper body movement because I was so imbalanced. Like my right leg is like way bigger and stronger than my left leg, but it also maybe doesn't like move as well athletically as my left leg. And so there's like a weird imbalance there that I'm constantly like searching. And that's a lot of what I think about when I train, which is different than most people. Like that's what I think about literally always, is like my imbalances, because I still have them. Like I have them a lot, you know, and like knee security, like I think about that a lot. And like, does this movement actually like, is this movement actually how I'm supposed to move? Like, does this lunge like just strengthen muscles just cause, or is it actually like how I'm supposed to move? And I struggle with that a lot. I think about that mostly, to be honest. And I feel like I'm still searching for that. And I feel like that's some of my maybe restraints to like other like cardio stuff, is like I'm searching for like, am I secure? Am I like actually, and I feel like running would be good for me. And a lot of like what running is just like me being a coward and not being willing to do it. I feel like I'm ready to run, it's just like kind of like we were talking about before, like, and again, maybe, this conversation is for others, but it's for me as well, of like, maybe it's just something I need to start doing, and just start short. And I think I'm getting closer to that. But a lot of it was like, if I start running now, like, am I actually running properly, or am I going to do more damage to an already like scope meniscus? Like, am I going to put more atrophy to joints that I can't afford, and so that's why a lot of the movements that I've done have been like, are my muscles controlling the entire movement, like, because our hips are ball and socket. And so it's like, does a side lunge actually coincide with how our body was meant to move, type of a thing, are the questions that I constantly seek and ask. And so I'll actually like, I'm kind of like always working out, I'm kind of like every step that I take, I'm thinking about like, is my foot working? Are my muscles below my knee working in a proper way? Like, and that's kind of like I said, the go-to thing. Like, am I actually rotating properly alongside my hip? Like, those are a lot of the questions that I ask. So I don't know if that answers your question entirely, but that's kind of like the processes that I go through when I'm working out, like mentally. For me, it's a lot about muscle, like, how much can my muscles hide my joints, like how much work can my muscles take? Because I know my muscles can be healed and replenished a lot easier than my joint structures, right? Like, I can't replenish my meniscus or whatever it is. I can't, but I know I can replenish my muscles, and I can train my muscles. So am I doing what God made our muscles to do? How much can my muscles take? I think is the question I ask. And I'm trying to always get like to maximize how many muscles do we have in our body? I mean, it's crazy, right? Like I'm trying to tap into every one, like through my brain. I'm trying to tap into every single muscle, like small muscle, whether it's like external rotators, internal rotators, like, like the soleus, like all of those just little things. Like, I want those to work as much as possible instead of just the big ones. That's how I think about it a lot.
That's cool. I
I
think
feel like that's a good transition into mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just real quick too, like with all you talk about just playing basketball all the time, like even though you weren't strength training, you were still staying active. And I think for a lot of people, like sure, there's stuff in the weight room that you can't. It's harder to replicate in other environments, but like you just got to find what keeps you active. Like Noah Van Hoff talks about, he's training for a triathlon right now, and so he's doing a bunch of biking and swimming, and he said he still feels strong and has gotten stronger in different ways. And so, I mean, even like I've gotten more into like body weight stuff. Like there's plenty of other ways to get strong and stay active. Golfing, running. It doesn't have to be in a weight room. So just something that keeps you going. And luckily for you, I mean, it was just part of your work. So even though it wasn't strength training, you were still staying active. So I think that's important. But go ahead, Jaden.
All right.
Mr. Runner.
Runner boy. She's a runner. She's a track star.
Come out of college, obviously played football, played baseball. I feel like I trained my whole life for speed and power and resilience. So felt like my body was kind of built for that. But outside of your sporting career, you don't necessarily need to be that fast or be that powerful. So it took me a bit to really think about what I wanted to train for and what I wanted that to look like. Obviously, I like having something tangible to train towards. I think that's why playing sports is easy for me, because there's always something to chase, something to be motivated for. So came out of college, probably 210, probably a little bit too heavy for what I felt like I wanted to transition into. So I've over time just healthily lost fat and muscle. Like, I'm not ashamed to admit that muscle goes with, because honestly, at that point, I felt like there was just too much that I didn't necessarily need, especially just translating towards more of like a cardiorespiratory, something that I had never explored in my career. Like, last time I had ran a mile since the national championship was probably elementary school, like the physical fitness thing. So
Literally.
just never a part of any sort of training program that I had taken part of. So I think it's been really cool to investigate that realm of training. It's different, it's new. It's something that motivates me. And it's something that I can pair with resistance training alongside. I can still train that speed and power. It still correlates to running. It's not just simply drop everything that you're doing in the weight room and just run. Like, that's definitely not the thing to do. But it's been a blessing. I think getting into running was definitely a process. I think the body has to adapt muscle fiber wise, just building endurance. My soleus definitely wasn't at the spot where it needed to be with that sort of training volume. So
Gosh darn.
yeah,
Soleus.
there was a lot of just like aching, or just the process. You can't rush you can't go from running 0 miles in 10 years to 60 miles in a week. It's just not feasible, and it's not the path to success. So easing into that process has been a blessing, and just adapting my training style to fit more of a holistic view of what I want my training to be. I think I've always been someone who's focused on quality of movement. I've talked about that in a previous podcast, that I've wanted to stay injury free and resilient. And I feel like I program in a way that focuses on strengthening the individual muscles around the joint and going through full ranges of motion and being strong concentrically, eccentrically, isometrically, in a way that allows me to be dynamic and move in a way that I feel like my body is supposed to move. I feel like I train in ranges that a lot of people don't necessarily consider. I think I focus on joints and little things like just like feet, how we control our feet when we are moving, and just always being cognizant of how I'm moving through space, because it does matter. It compounds over time. Even going through physical therapy school, I've been able to, learn all the origins, insertions of muscles, how they move, how they interact, what mechanisms they utilize around joints, how they keep joints safe. And I think it's really important just to consider, like Brandon was talking about, imbalances and how you train. I think if you're training solely double leg movement patterns, you aren't truly addressing one leg versus the other, and your dominant leg's going to take over most of the time. So I do a lot of single leg support, a lot of single arm rotational, just trying to incorporate the whole body in a movement system that is integrative and that works for each joint, but also together, because we're not just in a sagittal plane. We're not just flexing an elbow. We're dynamic. We're using our whole body like that. That's what is so great about running, is it involves the whole body moving in a way that, yeah, you might look at it from the outside and say we're not designed, but I read a book recently called Born to Run, and it brought up the argument that we are designed to run. We were designed to move our body in a way that is efficient and can endure through a long time. Like, you look at people around the world and what they're able to do with their body and how they can move over a distance, and it's just absurd what people are able to do. So it's been a blessing just to kind of be able to dive into the cardio realm, but still incorporate like healthy movement, quality of movement training.
Tangent. Literally, like, my most common nightmare is that I can't run fast enough. You know what I mean? Like, if I have a nightmare that consistently shows up. It's like I can't run as fast as I need to run. And I think that speaks to exactly what you're saying. Like, I think we were born to run. And I think that I haven't run enough, and I don't think anybody runs enough, because I think we were like literally born to run. I was born. What's that
Yeah, I
song?
mean,
Born to Run.
if
Like,
you think about
no, but I mean, born to run. Like, I think we were born to run. I think we were born to like move fast through space. Like it's one of the best things we can do. And I just have, it's a fear of mine. I think, but it also takes like so many muscles working coincidentally, or something's going to take a negative impact.
yeah. I mean, it's only like, I feel like recent in human civilization that we've been able to use cars and use modes of transportation that weren't our legs. Like, if you think back to how humans used to survive, it was to hunt, it was to run, it was to move from one place to another without any means of transportation. And I think our bodies are resilient to it. And obviously it takes proper loading over time. And with a sedentary lifestyle that we tend to live in these days, it can be hard to start and it can be hard to be consistent. But I think our body is definitely built in a way that, you look at our foot, you look at the intricacies of your foot. People just talk about it as one thing, but the amount of bones and muscles and everything that goes on in just the foot is crazy. And you start there and you work your way up, and it's a dynamic way to train, and you have to consider a lot of different factors. But I think there's definitely a reward to moving in a way that our body's designed. I think
if
a lack of pain.
if people looked more at like their feet as like their hands, I think people would be better. It's like, that's why I think Goda has some seriousness to it. Is like the foot is not a one thing. It's like so intricate. Like the study and the science of like the muscles and the bones in your foot is so intricate, and like how it was actually made to move. And if we saw it more like our hands, and like, I think we just like put on shoes and it just like, it's a shoe. I think we see our feet more like shoes than we do like actual feet. It's like, dude, you have so many muscles and bones in your feet. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And we're not educated enough. That's the issue. I think we're not educated enough to actually know. Some people are, but like, even within the education system, it's like the foot muscles and bones are crazy. That's where it starts, I think, and everything compounds from there, compounds up from there of like, imbalances in the foot and not using the feet as they're supposed to be used. And so I think that's where like a lot of where I spend my time, and that's where I'm like still recovering from, is how my feet were just shut off for years.
Yeah. And that's where I feel like I found benefit with doing some barefoot stuff, having barefoot shoes, doing stuff that strengthens the muscles in your foot. Because a lot of the times we just neglect actually strengthening the foot as another joint, another muscle.
Cool, man. Cool discussion.
Great stuff.
A lot of tangents
discussion
again, which is
a lot of tangents, but I think that's a great place to stop, and a great place to move forward. So
yeah, man, just find something that keeps you active, that keeps you coming back, and be consistent with it.
Yeah, man.
So
yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Marley, man. Jamming. We're jamming. We're jamming in the name of the Lord.
Nice. Well, boys,
anyways,
pleasure as always. Y'all have a great weekend, and
we'll
see
safe travels,
you next
Jaden.
week.
Colin.
Till next time.
Till next time. Love you guys.
Thanks for listening to the show. If you enjoyed today's episode, leave a rating, review, or tell a friend to check us out. Be sure to follow us at SHRP_training for more content to help you be your best self. Go be great today.